Hello everyone and welcome to MV Tutors. I'm Salo and today I'll be showing you guys how to classify alcohols. Alright, so before we begin with the lesson, please don't forget to like our videos and subscribe to our channel. And please guys share this information to those who will be doing matric next year, 2022, as well as those who will be upgrading because this is good information, good stuff here. Alright, and if you would like to book a private session with us, please go to our website, www.mvtutors.co.za. Alright, so let us get to the lesson. Alcohols are classified according to the position of the hydroxyl group on the carbon chain. So what do I mean by the hydroxyl group? Well, basically, that is the OH group. Okay. Yeah, sometimes if you want to do it structurally, you would place the O with the line there and the H, and that O would be attached to the carbon, which, has its own chain and whatever. So the question you need to ask yourself when you want to identify what type of alcohol you have is, how many carbons are attached to the carbon containing the hydroxyl group? Okay, it'll make sense in a few seconds. Okay, but basically, how many carbons are attached to the carbon containing the hydroxyl group? So basically, you're going to look for the hydroxyl group in your alcohol. Then you're going to look at the carbon attached to the hydroxyl group. Okay, just circle that carbon. Then you're going to look for other carbons that are attached to that carbon. Then you can tell whether you have a primary, secondary, or tertiary alcohol. Alright, so let's just see. So with primary alcohol, let's say you have your carbon over there, okay? You have your hydroxyl group, and then this carbon is attached to a hydrogen, and R. So R in this case is an organic group, okay? So in this case, your carbon that is attached to the hydroxyl group is attached to another carbon, just one carbon, and therefore we call it a primary alcohol. When we get to the secondary alcohol, again, you go look for the hydroxyl group, okay? Then look at the carbon attached to that hydroxyl group, and you're like, okay, this particular carbon, how many other carbons is it attached to? So you can see here, it's attached to 1 and 2, all right? So therefore, that would be your secondary alcohol. And then tertiary, same story. You go and you see where's the hydroxyl group. Okay, I've seen it. I've located it. And what is the carbon attached to that hydroxyl group? Okay, I see it. And how many carbons is that particular carbon attached to? So you can see, okay, fine, I have 3 organic groups over here, 3 carbons that are attached to that particular carbon of interest. Therefore, this must be a tertiary alcohol. Okay, I hope you are understanding it so far. So let's just look at some examples. So I have here butanol. Okay, I have 4 carbons, right? And there are 10 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. So basically, yeah. So they have the same molecular formula. So these are isomers that I have actually selected just to show you, again, how to differentiate between primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohols. So firstly, you go and locate that hydroxyl group. Okay, there it is. Then I look at the carbon of interest, the one attached to the hydroxyl group. I've put it and highlighted that it's quite bold. Then I go and look, okay, how many other carbons are attached to that specific carbon? And I see I only have 1 carbon because here I have a hydrogen and a hydrogen atom. So this then becomes my primary alcohol. And what would I call this primary alcohol, just out of interest? So this is the first carbon, second carbon, third and fourth. So this is butanol. Okay, you can say 1-butanol or butan-1-ol. Okay, so butan-1-ol. Remember, when we have digits, we need to separate the words and the numbers by using a dash or a hyphen. Okay, secondly, we still have 4 carbons. Okay, so we still have a butanol, but where is our hydroxyl group? So I see this is my hydroxyl group over here. The carbon that it's attached to There it is. Okay, it's bold. All right, and how many other carbons are attached to that bold carbon? Okay, so I have this carbon over here, and I have that carbon over there, and then it's also attached to a hydrogen. So I have two carbons attached to my carbon of interest. So because it's two, this is going to be a secondary alcohol. Okay, and what would we name it? All right, so I would start numbering here, there. So this would be butane 2-ol. Now we get to the third example. So where is my hydroxyl group? Okay, I see it, it's there. And this is my carbon of interest. Okay, so how many other carbons are attached to my carbon of interest? Well, there's one over here, there's a second one, and there's a third one. So there are 3 carbons attached. Hence, this will be my tertiary alcohol. All right, so what would we name this one? What is the longest chain, basically? Well, first let's start numbering it. So we have our, you can number from either side, doesn't matter. So we have 1, we have 2, and we either have 3 here or we have 3 here. So we have 3 meaning prop, right? So we have a propanol, okay, propan 2-ol because the hydroxyl group is on the second carbon. So we have propan 2-ol, but we also have a methyl group. Okay, this is our methyl, our alkyl group over here. Okay, so it's going to be 2-methyl propan 2-ol. Alrighty, so that is your primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohol. Out of interest, because these are isomers, I just wanted to know from you, this is revision, between these two, okay, what kind of isomer do we have here? Alright, this will be your positional isomer because the only thing that's changing, the hydroxyl group is changing positions. Okay, it firstly was on the first carbon and then it went to the second carbon. So this would be your positional isomer. Okay, and then between these two, what kind of isomer do we have? Well, I see here for butane 2-ol, I have a straight carbon chain, but for my 2-methyl propan 2-ol, I actually have a branched chain. So this would be my chain isomer. Okay, coolies. Now let's have a look at some examples and then identify what kind of alcohol we have, and then we're going to name our alcohol. All right, so firstly, like I said, you identify the hydroxyl group. There we are, we have our hydroxyl group. Okay, and then we look at the carbon of interest, so the carbon that the hydroxyl group is attached to. And then I ask myself, how many other carbons is this carbon attached to? So it's attached to this carbon, that carbon. We have a hydrogen here, we have a hydroxyl group here at the bottom. So this is my secondary alcohol. Okay, so we have our secondary alcohol. We'll name it afterwards. Let's just identify the types of alcohols that we have because this video is about classifying alcohols. Again, when we get to example number 2, where is our hydroxyl group? Okay, I've seen it. It's there. All right. Let me look at the carbon attached to this hydroxyl group. So this is the carbon over here. And then we ask ourselves, how many other carbons is this particular carbon attached to? So I have this carbon here for this methyl group. I have this carbon over here, and I have this carbon over here. So this carbon is basically attached to 3 other carbons, which would then make it a tertiary alcohol. Ooh, alcohol. Alrighty, and then the third one, where's our hydroxyl group? There it is. This is the carbon of interest, and how many other carbons that attached to? It's just attached to 1 carbon. Okay, so this would be my primary alcohol. Okay, and then now we're going to name these alcohols. Alrighty. Alright, so I just have a few rules just to remind you again of how you name your organic compounds. First of all, we're going to find the longest chain, the longest carbon chain, okay? Secondly, we're going to identify the functional group. Well, here we're basically dealing with alcohols, so that's no brainer. Thirdly, you're going to number the carbons, okay? But where do you even start? You start with the carbon closest to the functional group. Okay, so let's start with number 1. So where we're going to start numbering, we're going to number from the right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so, and that is the longest carbon chain. Yeah, or we could have gone 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it's fine. It's basically okay. All right. So what do we have here for the first one? So we have a butanol, okay, butane 2-ol, all right. So let's just go here. So I have butane 2-ol, okay, because the alcohol, the hydroxyl group, is on the second carbon. And then I also have a methyl group, but that's on the third carbon. So it's going to be 3-methyl butane 2-ol. Okay, cool. Let's go to the second one. So here we have, which is our longest carbon chain. So I would say this could be our longest carbon chain. No, it still goes on. So this is looking at the carbons over here. This will be my longest carbon chain. Okay, so I have numbering it as well. I could have chosen this one on the top or the one at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. So that would be my first carbon, my second, my third, fourth, and fifth. Okay, but so now we need to ask ourselves. This is we have a double bond, okay? So this would be, but this is where we have 2 functional groups in one. I don't think that's allowed. Okay, so I made these examples and I didn't think it through. I don't think you can have 2, what do you call, functional groups in one, because we have an alkane because of the double bond, and we also have an alcohol. So no. I thought of these examples in my head, guys. I really did not think this one through. Anyway, I'm fixing my error. Okay. So there we go with our hydrogens. Fixed my error. Okay, cool. So yes, we have the 5th one there. So 5 carbon atoms. That would be pent, right? So on the second carbon, we have the hydroxyl group. So it would be pentane 2-ol. Okay, first and foremost, pentane 2-ol. And then we have our methyl group on the second carbon. Okay, so it would be 2-methyl pentane 2-ol. Okay, so obviously this would be like much closer to the pentane 2-ol. Okay, and the third one, our final one, so our longest carbon chain, well, I'm going to start numbering here. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so again, I have a butanol, okay, and our hydroxyl group is on the first carbon. So I have butane 1-ol, and do I have any methyl group? No, this is just the long chain. So yeah, this is basically butane 1-ol. Alright, and that concludes our lesson for today. The main thing really was to identify whether your alcohol is primary, secondary, or tertiary. As for naming it, you guys have got it right. Cool. And guys, please don't forget to like our videos and also subscribe to our channel.